this month going to be doing something that I'm calling the month of the month of Brews, maybe more accurately called the month of Jank. My goal this month, because I've gotten a little tired of the just normal ladder climb. It's not that it's boring necessarily, but it has begun to feel a little bit grindy. So I've decided to try to do some interesting explorations, we'll say, of cards in Eternal and of new deck ideas, mostly because I'm just tired of facing the same 3 or playing the same 3 to 4 decks every month since basically the game has come out. We have modified those decks, but they're still always the same kinds of things. There's not really much creativity on the ladder once you get above gold. So at least that's been my experience. Maybe your experience is different, and if so, awesome. But so what we're doing is we are going to play some interesting decks. We're going to brew some things up, and we're going to care a little bit less about wins and a little bit more about how the deck plays, and maybe trying to make the decks competitive. And this is the first one. It's gone through 3 different iterations to get to what we are now calling the Bargain Blowout. So the idea behind this deck is that I have traditionally felt that Navani is an interesting card, but is a, we'll say, less than stellar in application. Typically, she just comes in, dies, doesn't do much. And Warcry itself is a cool ability, but also typically isn't as impactful as you would want, because, I mean, quite frankly, you Warcry something, and you have to hope to draw it, and that they then don't have just removal for it that is, kind of turned off all of your Warcry. So Navani gets around one of the negative impacts of Warcry in that you've got to draw the thing you got the Warcry to, or rather not the draw, but that you're only going to get the effect one time, but you still have to get down there and draw to it. So so she's typically been a little bit too slow and a little bit not as impactful as you would hope necessarily for what she does. And so what we're trying to do is eke out a little bit more value with her new obvious companion from the newest the newest campaign. There we go. Wow, I could not think of the word campaign for some reason. From the newest campaign, which is the Sower of Dissent. Now, Sower of Dissent, interesting card. It is a 2/4 for 3 that when you Warcry a unit or weapon, you reduce its cost by that much. So effectively, any Warcry you do, like if you Warcry 1, you reduce by 1, Warcry 2, reduce by 2. If you stack Warcries over multiple turns, whatever that card is going to be reduced multiple turns. Now, this is helpful for 2 reasons. One, it reduces the cost of whatever you're doing by a little bit, so maybe whatever you draw into is going to be good. And 2, if you have multiple Warcry units and you keep stacking those Warcries, whatever you eventually pull is going to be pretty awesome, which means that you can stack a lot of Warcries on something impactful and maybe get some real good use out of it. The first time that we were running all of this, we tried to use just those 2, and we couldn't eke out quite enough value. We ran into the situation of the other problem I was talking about with Warcry, namely that the draws weren't there. We would draw things and not get them, and then the secondary problem of Warcry, or the tertiary problem of Warcry we'll get to, which is the removal aspect of it. But so the secondary problem of Warcry, so first problem with Warcry is it generally wasn't impactful enough. Secondary problem with Warcry was that you couldn't really get to those units. So we try to answer that problem via 2 methods, which is the first one being Ancient Lore, and I'll explain why we're using Ancient Lore instead of other stuff. Effectively, we're trying to use draw spells. We're trying to draw cards in order to get down to that Warcry. We're looking to get to those Warcries, okay? And then the other way that we're doing it is with another we'll say less than stellar card, the Waker of Ancients, which is once again from a campaign. So definitely play those campaigns. Get these cards because they're worth it. They're absolutely worth it. Even if you don't use them now, they are interesting enough that you'll want to play them. Almost every card that comes from a campaign is interesting, even if it's not currently, really we'll say meta playable. Waker of Ancients is kind of like that. She's not super meta playable, except that what we're trying to do is find ways of drawing our Warcry units earlier. So our goal here is to use the Waker of Ancients in order to draw and play those Warcry units, which hopefully will have been reduced enough that we'll be able to play them cheap and maybe chain into a bunch of them, okay? Now, that still leads us to the final problem that Warcry has, and that's that, okay, yay, I've got like these 5 Warcry stacked on the unit. Awesome, I finally drew the unit. I played the unit. Next turn, I'm going to get you with it, right? That's the problem, is next turn, you're going to get him with it, unless it's a weapon. And if it's a weapon, then awesome. You just got super value, because weapons are effectively hasty abilities for Warcry. But kind of the problem is that you need Warcry creatures, and so you're often going to be Warcrying onto a creature and like all this other stuff. So what we wanted to find is ways that we could make use of all of that Warcry onto effective creatures. And so our effective creatures that we're trying to Warcry onto are the Predatory Carnosaur and the Venom Rider. Venom Rider has charge and deadly, so it's hard for people to block, and if you get this guy discounted and he's free, that's awesome, especially if you manage to get him discounted and he's free once you can pay for his ultimate, because if you have this guy free, so you've effectively Warcried him 4 times, so he's a 7/7, you drop him into play for free, okay, which is awesome. As a 7/7, you can then ult him if you have the 5, make him into a 6/6, but get a Sandstrider that just gets to kill something. So the Sandstrider he makes is a 1/1 for 5 that has deadly and killer, so you just get to go hit something and then swing in with your new 6/6 charger and just like, you know, start trying to wreck your opponent. So that's one way. The other way is Predatory Carnosaur, which hopefully will get, you know, nice and big, be a killer, get reduced in cost so we can drop him cheap, murder something, and then keep on running forward. Now, a couple of the cards in here, we have the Warhelm in order to add Warcry and give charge so that we can charge Navani, maybe give the Sower Warcry before we play the Valkyrie, because it does get Warcry if you Valkyrie ally it. So that's the Warhelm. Warhelm's in there to round that out. Torch for removal. Seek power just because we have some obvious, you know, color cost problems. We need fire and time. We need fire and time. We need fire and justice. We need double justice. We need double time. We need double fire. So it's a little bit harsh on the influence costs for the deck. So we need the seek powers. We're only running 2 though, because hopefully we're not going to need a lot of extra sigils. We just need to make sure that we can kind of fix what we get. And then for the Sower, we are only running 4 Valkyries in order to ally the Sower, because it's not necessarily super important that we ally the Sower, but it's nice when we do. And we wanted those Valkyries to be good, so they're the Valkyrie Enforcer. There's a possibility that we want to get rid of this Crimson Firemaw and run a Valkyrie in its place, so we're still doing a little bit of work with the deck, but the Crimson Firemaw is just nice because it's a nice big flyer that gets to swing in, get some more reductions, helps us so that we can kind of reduce the costs of whatever, and the nice thing is the Crimson Firemaw can possibly reduce the rise to the challenge to 0 if it happens to be the top. We can then rise to the challenge for 0, go find, say, our Venom Rider or our Predatory Carnosaur, which hopefully if we've already got a Navani, hit on it with some Sowers out there and really gotten that synergy going, those guys will be cheap, and then we can just drop them, smash in, and, you know, really get that blowout we're looking for from all of these discounts and Warcries. So that's the goal, and this version of the deck, the 3rd version of the deck, has worked probably better than any of the other ones. There's still some work to be done to it. A recent addition was the Crownwatch Paladin over New Icaria. I really love New Icaria, but the double justice early on was just a little bit too difficult to get consistently, so we had to get rid of her, and instead we put the Crownwatch Paladin in so we can Warcry things, because here's the nice thing, even if we don't get the discount from the Sower, if we Warcry things big enough, the Waker of Ancients is then going to be able to drop him into play. Like, for instance, 1 Warcry onto a Navani means that we can warp Navani into play. It takes 2 Warcries on a Valkyrie Enforcer, not that many. It takes no Warcries on a Crimson Firemaw. It takes 2 Warcries on a Venom Rider, and of course none on the Predatory Carnosaur. So just trying to find a little bit of value and get it in there. Now, whether it works or not, we're going to find out. So we're going to probably play 3 or 4 games with this and see how it goes. Okay, game 1 with our Bargain Blowout. This is going to be interesting. So let's look at this hand, see what we can do here. It is not what we want. We want these guys in the deck so that we can Warcry them out. So we're going to go ahead and redraw. Plus, we don't have enough colors, not enough sigils. Okay, so this is a little more interesting. We are short on Justice, but maybe we'll find it. Our opponent plays a Shadow Sigil, so we're playing something dark and mysterious. Not really. We are going to go ahead and play a Seed of Impulse, immediately seek power so that we can grab a Justice Sigil, play the Justice Sigil next turn so that we can grab the Crownwatch Paladin and start our Warcries. Opponent plays an Amber Monument, or Amber Waystone, sorry, and plays a Blister Sting Wasp. Now, this does not change our opinion of what we're going to do much. We're going to Seed of Progress. We're going to play the Crownwatch Paladin. We do have the Torch to take out the Wasp, which hopefully we can do. I don't think our opponent's going to swing with it. Our opponent did not swing with it. Now, because we're going to be torching the Wasp in order to get in, we're going to go ahead and play the Crest of Impulse and Scout. We scout up a Venom Rider. I am fine with that on top because it is playable. So we're going to go ahead and torch the Wasp, toss a Warcry onto the Venom Rider, and pass the turn to our opponent. Opponent draws a card. Opponent plays an Amber Acolyte, not something we're afraid of. Opponent goes and gets a Sigil, plays the Sigil, probably the one they just got, the Shadow Sigil. Passes turn back to us. We are going to... Let's see, our best option here, we have a number of options here. We can go ahead and play the Justice Sigil. We don't have a need to play the Venom Rider yet, but what we can do is play the Navani and swing out with the Crownwatch possibly in order to get our opponent to block. That isn't worth it because we can get the double Warcry next turn. So we're going to go ahead and pass the turn. Opponent draws a card. Opponent plays a Dark Return. Opponent gets the Blister Sting Wasp back. That's a little bit unfortunate, but we can deal with this. Opponent plays a Blister Sting Wasp. Opponent passes the turn back to us. Okay, we are going to play out a Fire Sigil. Then we are going to, let's see, we could play out a Venom Rider, swing with the Venom Rider, probably blocks with the Blister Sting Wasp. We don't necessarily want to do that, but what we can do is play the Venom Rider, not attack, or we could go for broke, play the Sower of Dissent, lose both of our Warcry units, discount our entire deck by 1, all of our non-spells by 1. I think we're going to play the longer game, maybe. Our opponent appears to be playing a bit of a control deck here, but I think we're better off to play the... No, we should get our value. We should definitely get our value. Let's go ahead and go hunting for value. Play the Sower of Dissent, swing with both of our Warcry, get a Warcry on top and a Warcry on the entire deck, so everything's reduced by 1 now because of the Sower. Those were the expected blocks. And we will now pass the turn to our opponent and see what happens. So we got the discount so that we could get in there because now everything in our deck is playable because 5 is the biggest that we've got. Okay. Opponent plays out a 4/4, which is a little bit unfortunate for us. But we can play the Crimson Firemaw, pass the turn to our opponent. Opponent plays another Blister Sting Wasp. We will draw, Justice Sigil, pretty good. We can play the Justice Sigil, play out the... Let's play out the Venom Rider, pass the turn, because the Firemaw has to hit the opponent to get the discount. So with this one, we might be able to make the Sandstrider. Our opponent draws a card. Make the Sandstrider. Okay, we're going to try it. We're going to make the Sandstrider. Killer the Wasp. Hopefully get in there. Opponent plays an A in the Abductor and sacrifices it to the Sandstrider. That was interesting. Let's go ahead and swing with the Venom Rider because there's no reason not to. If opponent blocks with something, we are fine with this. If not, they take 3. There was an interesting sacrifice of an A in. I guess, well, not I guess. The reason is because they're keeping the Blister Sting Wasp. Opponent draws a card, plays the Time Sigil, plays a World Bearer Behemoth. Pretty good. We are going to get in there, torch the Wasp, swing with the the dragon. Wow, Crimson Firemaw. Then we will Ancient Lore, draw 2 cards, including the one that we discounted. Hopefully it's something good. Oh, Crownwatch Paladin. And, nice. So now we're going to go ahead and Valkyrie Enforcer, turn off the World Bearer Behemoth, and go ahead and also Crownwatch Paladin. Now the advantage here is that we did turn on our Sower's Warcry 2, so the top card is going to be massively discounted. So we're getting those bargain blowouts I was talking about. We discounted this to being a 0. We discounted And we discounted this one to being a 0 also. Now, why did that happen? We drew this one first. I'm wondering if this counts as Warcry. It can't possibly. Oh, no, I'm sorry. This was 0 already from the Warcry, so the discount from the Crimson Firemaw flowed over onto the Valkyrie Enforcer. There we go. I knew I'd figure it out eventually. In this situation, we can... Let's go ahead and draw 2, see what we get. Purify, and a Warhelm. Nice. Okay, so the Warhelm we could easily drop onto the Valkyrie Enforcer, swing in, see what our opponent does. Okay, opponent blocks, expected. Opponent takes 15, we get a Warcry. Go ahead and play the Sigil so that we can possibly, because we are going to be trying to warp units into play. Opponent plays an Auric Interrogator, which is going to eat up a Purify, most likely. Let's see. If we swing with everything, he's most likely to block this. Let's go ahead and Purify this. Swing with everything. Put a massive Warcry dump right on the top unit or weapon. Opponent plays an A in the Abductor. Opponent blocks. We will, in order to prevent life gain, kill the A in the Abductor. We'll allow the World Bearer to survive, killing our Paladin, but that's pretty okay because the important ones survived. Ancient Lore, hopefully finding whatever we just discounted. And we did. Oh, we did. So we will play a 12-11 Drake, pass the turn to our opponent. If they do not have hard removal here, they will just lose. I am so sorry about that. That should not have been on. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the subscription. I will make sure that is off. And there we go, guys. So Bargain Blowout got its first win, and let's see what happens on the next one. And here we are again with Bargain Blowout. This is our second game, and we are not going to keep this hand. It is terrible. Okay, so toss this hand back. Bring up the next hand. Oh, not very good either. We do have all of our colors, minus being able to play the Predatory Carnosaur. So there's that at least. Let's play the Seed of Impulse, pass the turn to our opponent. Opponent draws a card. We're against Ouroboros. Nice person. We've met them before. Skycrag Banner from our opponent. Passes the turn to us. We will play the Seat of Progress. Pass the turn back to our opponent. Opponent draws a card. Opponent is playing Skycrag. Probably trying to do that climb as fast as possible. Opponent plays a Fire Sigil. Opponent swings, and it is looking bad for us. We will play a Seat of Progress after drawing a Venom Rider. Pass the turn to our opponent. Opponent will play a Primal Sigil. Opponent will swing for 4. We have taken 7 so far. This is not good. Oh, never mind. Opponent plays a Yeti Wind Flyer. Is this an interesting brew of Yeti, I wonder? Anyways, we're going to go ahead and play our Sower of Dissent just so that we have something in play. Pass the turn to our opponent. Opponent is going to absolutely wreck us in a little bit. Opponent plays a Seed of Fury, probably going to Permafrost our Sower if they've got it. No, opponent just swings. Probably means they have a pump spell of some kind. We are going to go ahead and block and make them use the pump spell because honestly, we just can't afford to sit here and take a lot of damage like this. Opponent plays an Iceberg Mason. Okay. Passes turn. No, opponent plays a secondary Iceberg Mason. Okay, so they are probably not drawing mini sigils anymore. We got a Seed of Glory. Unfortunately, we're getting all of the depleted sigils. We really need some undepleted power sources. Pass the turn back to our opponent. Opponent draws a card, probably a Yeti. Opponent plays a Primal Sigil, and opponent swings for a lot of damage. Opponent passes turn back. Probably. Opponent plays a Cinder Yeti from the top. Opponent plays another Iceberg Mason, shoving more to the top. And are we just dead here? Let's see, 2... We are not... Oh, yeah, we are just dead because we didn't draw a sigil. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're not technically dead yet. We will play the Crimson Firemaw. I don't know what could get us out of this. If we get a... no, Permafrost, we are dead. And that is the game. Okay, well... Turns out, guys, if you don't draw sigils, you don't win games. We're going to go on to the next one. Okay, here we are with game number 3 with Bargain Blowout against Heretic. Is this a keepable hand for once? The answer is no, it's not, because we want those guys in the library. This is also not good. This is very bad, in fact, but oh well. Opponent plays an Initiative of the Sands, passes turn to us, and that is not what we wanted to draw. We will play out a Seat of, which seat is that? I always forget. Seat of Glory, and pass the turn to our opponent. I was going to call it Seat of Progress. Opponent draws a card. Opponent plays a Praxis Banner. Opponent plays a Reliquary Raider. Opponent passes turn. We will then play out a Seat of Progress. We will torch the Reliquary Raider to prevent the card draw. Pass the turn to our opponent. Opponent draws a card. Oh, what are you going to wreck us with now? Opponent swings again with their poor little initiate. Opponent plays a Dawnwalker. We do have Purifies. We draw not a Sigil. Pass the turn to our opponent. Looks like we're gonna get that kind of a hand again, guys, where we just don't draw the sigils. We are only running 27 power sources, so that might be a little bit greedy. I don't really feel it is, because at this point we should have drawn at least 3 anyways, just because, you know, statistically you should after this many. But that's okay. Opponent plays a Sigil. Opponent swings for 5. Opponent does nothing else. We draw yet another non-Sigil source. We pass the turn back. Well, guys, this is Totes Variance at its finest. If you've ever been in channel, you know that this is pretty much the expectation. Opponent plays Never Waystone, swings in for 5, and doesn't need to do anything, so why even care? We will play a Justice Sigil. We will play a Valkyrie Enforcer, silence that Dawnwalker, pass the turn to our opponent, probably getting torched right here. No torch. That's a surprise. So opponent draws a card. Opponent plays a Vault if they get the Fire Sigil. No, opponent plays a World Bearer Behemoth. Just as bad. Now the opponent torches. They must have just drawn that because otherwise that's just a bad sequence. Okay, opponent passes the turn and we don't draw a 4th Sigil. We can't play anything. We just lose this game. Okay, moving on to the next one. Okay, here we are with game 4. Let's see if we can actually play this game. We've had 2 in a row now of unplayables. This is actually a keepable hand-ish. Well, let's see. What's our plan here? No, not really. Let's go ahead and redraw. See what we're going to do here. This is much better. Much better. Okay, we actually have a little bit of action. We have some defenses. Opponent also mulligans. Okay, opponent plays a Crest of Chaos, so we're facing some Stone Scar thing. It might be Grenadin, it might just be a Queen variant of some kind. So, pass his turn back. We will play a Seat of Impulse. Pass the turn to our opponent. Opponent draws a card that they scouted to the top, I believe. Opponent plays a Seat of Mystery. Never mind, this is... we're playing against more Jank. Yes, Jank on Jank Fest. Let's go. We will start our turn. We will play a Seat of Progress, and we'll go ahead and play out the Wake... Well, do we want to play the Wake... Yeah, let's play the Waker of Ancients, and pass the turn to our opponent. Ah, nice. It lets us at least see what's coming up. We have a dragon on top. Opponent plays out a Temple Scribe, and draws a card, gains a life, and plays a Grenadin Drone. Ah, I'm wondering if this is some variant of Altar. I bet this is an Altar variant of some kind. So we are going to go ahead and play out a Fire Sigil and pass the turn to our opponent. We can block. We know we do not have a big creature on top, so that's, or at least not a 4-power. Okay. Opponent plays a Xenon Obelisk. This is somewhat bad for us. We will do what? I wonder why they did not attack with the... I guess they wanted to block. Anyways, we might as well go ahead and torch now because most likely they're going to be playing the Anthem on a Stick, the 1/1, I cannot even remember his name, but the 1/1 that makes all of your other guys bigger. We are going to play out a Justice Sigil here. Now we have an interesting line. I think what we're going to do is play out the Navani Warsinger so that we can start getting some Warcry going. Pass the turn to our opponent. The alternative would have been the Crimson Firemaw, swing on the next turn, and then turn after Ancient Lore. Or play the Crimson Firemaw, swing Ancient Lore. But I feel like this is the better way to go about that. Here we're going to go ahead and play out the Fire Sigil, swing with the Navani, see what my opponent wants to block. If he blocks with less than 2, or if he blocks with 2 or less, then we're fine. So I'll have to block with at least 3 probably. Okay. Opponent chose to block that way. Interesting choice. There we go. Opponent figured it out. Opponent figured out that he needs to block with more. So we're going to go ahead and just kill off 2 of these guys. So we traded for Unfortunately, just one, but we got our Warcry, and that's good. Now we're going to play at the Crimson Firemaw. The reason we also need to continue killing our opponent's things is because Rally is a problem, and we cannot afford to get a giant swing with Rally. So we have to stay aggressive and have to make our opponent block. Opponent plays an assembly line, so we are very much going to be dead to a Rally if we do not draw something good soon. Opponent... The fact that the opponent's not swinging makes me think that they've got a Rally in hand that they're trying to make use of. So we're going to go ahead and do this. Let's see. We can Purify one of the Ephemeral Wisps, which is actually a good place. Let's go ahead and swing with... Let's swing with the Firemaw. We can't afford to just let our opponent sit around and win the game. So swing with the Firemaw. Discount something. Let's Ancient Lore and see what it is that we got, because we still have the Torch available, and this may not be the turn. Okay, we got a free Sower. So I am going to go ahead and play the Sower of Dissent, play out the Sigil, and then we can pass the turn, and we'll have a Torch available. And next turn we'll have a Purify and a Navani available. Opponent gets another Obelisk. Oh, that is terrible for us. Opponent chooses to swing. We will... block one, and we're going to Purify the other one next turn. So we'll go ahead and block like that. And then take two, torch probably this guy, just because he's quickly getting to the point where the torches are going to be no good. One more Obelisk, and they're no good anymore. Let's see, we need to go ahead and we will Purify this one so we cannot get it back. That'll shut down a little bit of his stuff. Swing with the Firemaw. Play the Navani, who can block at least. And then pass the turn. Now, hopefully we'll get to swing with this Navani and get some Warcries and some reductions. Opponent has something. We don't know what it is. Opponent has a Combust. Okay, good. Opponent combusts the Drake, which is a good play. A very good play. Oh, so we got the Warhelm, huh? I think what we want to do... He'll have to block with two of them no matter what, but this will actually kill two of them. We'll go ahead and Warcry up the Navani, swing with the Navani because it will discount our entire deck by 2. Ah, are you seeing the beauty? It's happening, ladies and gentlemen. It's happening. So our opponent was afraid of a torch, and that's perfectly acceptable. It's acceptable playline from our opponent. But what we wanted is happening. Crownwatch Paladin for free off the top. Valkyrie Enforcer for 1 off the top. Silence this guy. Give this guy Warcry. Nothing else happens. Let's go to an Ancient Lore now. So we can draw, and we got the Seed of Progress and the Predatory Carnosaur. Another Predatory Carnosaur on top. So this is the point where we're getting the Bargain Blowouts. We're getting the bargains. They are hitting, and we are loving it. Okay, so opponent plays a Devour, draws cards, desperately seeking something to win this with. We managed to outvalue our opponent. So this deck is an entirely different beast whenever you actually draw the sigils. Opponent plays an Ember Acolyte. Opponent goes and gets a Sigil, plays the Sigil to get back one of the Wisps. We did silence the other one, but that is not going to do it for our opponent. Let's see. We can go ahead and play the Crownwatch Paladin. We can play the Predatory Carnosaur from the top. Eat the 4/3. It's the biggest. Now, we cannot play any of these ones from the top, but what we can do is swing with these 3. Give a massive, massive bump to whatever's the top card. It's going to also get a massive discount, so it gets a discount of 3. Let's kill the 3/3. We'll leave the 2/3 out because why not? Yeah, so this is the value. This is what we're trying to do. This is the value train. Hopefully the top is an undepleted power source. Opponent, I don't know what they're expecting to draw here. They are on 8. We have 6 in the air and more than enough on the ground to finish them off. But, you know, hope springs eternal. And that is, there we go. There is the end of game emote. So that is game 4. So we are 2-2 with the deck currently, and you're getting to see what it does. Okay, here we are with game number 5, and we are going to redraw that. I said redraw that. There we go. And here we go. Not a good hand. Not what we're looking for. Definitely not what we're looking for. So here we are going to Crest of Impulse. We do not need the Navani. We'll toss the Navani back down to the bottom. Pass the turn to our opponent. Opponent will... Let's go ahead and Seed of Glory. Opponent plays out... So we were playing maybe an Armory. Seed of Glory and Seed of Progress. Possibly Armory on the other end. Opponent draws a card. Opponent plays a Seek Power. And then plays a Time Sigil. Might have been what they looked for, might not have been. You never really know. We will play out a Seat of Progress. Pass the turn to our opponent. So we're about to get to the point where we can start playing things. Opponent plays a Sandstorm Titan. That's pretty bad for us. That is not what we wanted to see. We will cry into our Cheerios, I guess? I don't know. Let's go ahead and play out a Fire Sigil. And pass the turn. Well, let's think. Let's play the Navani and now pass the turn. We're not going to be able to drop the Predatory Carnosaur anytime soon. We could have played the Crimson Firemaw in case of the Purify. There's the Vanquish. We were kind of expecting something to be coming out. Opponent swings. There's the Purify, so would have been the better line, except we would have lost the Crimson Firemaw anyways. So let's go ahead and play the Crimson Firemaw now and hope that we can purify that Sandstorm Titan. Fun Police is real and is big. Rise to the challenge probably means he's going to go find a hammer for next turn. But if we can get at least one swing with the Crimson Firemaw, we'll be happy. We could block here, but I think it's better to go ahead and Purify. Maybe Purify and Torch. Since we got the other torch, we'll go ahead and do that. We will, or we can torch. I think we can... this is a hard choice. Let's go ahead and Purify since we can't torch face or Purify face, and then torch, swing in. I hate to 2-for-1 ourselves like that, but it's kind of what we have to do. Our opponent's probably going to get a hammer, but we do have a torch for whatever that is. Pass the turn to our opponent. See what our opponent does. Opponent purifies us. Okay, that's actually not the worst in the world. We will draw a Walker of the Ancients and draw a Valkyrie Enforcer. Now, this is where we're in a rather interesting situation. I think we want to Valkyrie Enforcer the Lunar Magus. Let's swing first and see what our opponent does. See if he blocks. Okay, opponent does block, so that's good for us. It means we don't need the Valkyrie Enforcer, which means we can afford to Ancient Lore. See what we draw. Okay, we were hoping for the Sigil. We didn't find the Sigil. Let's go ahead and play the Walker of Ancients and pass the turn to our opponent. Now, we do have, luckily, we do have the Venom Rider. Opponent draws a card. Opponent plays an Amber Acolyte. So I am a little confused on what our opponent's trying to play. Our opponent plays a Lunar Magus and passes turn to us with the Knight going. Okay, we draw 2. Interesting stuff over there. I think what we want to do is go ahead and prevent the life gain. Since this isn't Armory, I'm not as worried about it. And we're going to go ahead and Warhelm up the Valkyrie and swing with it. Nice. So that puts a Navani up to being a 5/5, which is pretty useful. So we've got a lot of the combo in hand. We're not finding the Sigil we need. We need one Sigil so we can really get this going. But we'll see what happens here. Opponent plays out an Icaria. Oh, that is bad. We really need that Sigil, and we really need that Sigil soon. Opponent swings with everything. The Walker is not going to be as useful as I want. So we're going to go ahead and block and kill the Lunar Magus. Just to help prevent some of the damage. We're going to have to hold back our... Valkyrie Enforcer, probably. Let's see. We need something. What do we need? We need to draw cards and try to find that. Okay, we don't have much hope here, but if we can find... There we go. We found the time source we needed. Now we just have to hope we survive a turn. Pass the turn to our opponent. He's going to get another swing with Icaria. We're going to take 2. We're going to lose our Valkyrie Enforcer. but we're going to be on 4, and if we get lucky here, we can make it out of this one. So we're going to go ahead and block. Valkyrie Enforcer down. Please don't have a weapon. Opponent has Heart of the Vault, so we just lose. There's nothing we can do about it. Because if we kill the Icaria, yep, that's it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is that. Drop the Predatory Carnosaur and swing at the Icaria just because why not? Pass the turn to our opponent and let them finish us off in style. In style. Oh, never mind. They should finish us off with an Icaria. I still got all these. Well, good job, opponent. Good job. And, well, that was game 5. So we went 2 and 3, but you got to at least see what the deck was trying to do. As you can see, like I said, the Sigil situation is a little bit clunky with this one. So we're going to go ahead and pop on back out to here. Okay. So, as I said, the Sigil situation here is a little bit clunky. The Ancient Lore Crimson Firemaw package, when it works, is really good. We might want to find a little bit better draw than the Ancient Lore. I don't really know what we could play that might be better draw than Ancient Lore, but something being better draw than Ancient Lore would be good. It's unfortunate that that's what it is, but hey, that's what it is. Now, what else could we do? Talk about changing in this guy. The Crownwatch Paladins, good. Whether they're good enough, I don't know, but I did like the Warcry that we got in there, so most of the changes that we made to this were pretty good. It's just really the Ancient Lore Crimson Firemaw package that I'm a little bit not sure about. There might need to be some kind of lifesteal going on in the deck, so we could look at adding a Valkyrie that we could lifesteal with. So, let's see. Let's work for both of those. So really all we're looking at there is a Rolant's Honor Guard or a Elias the Broken Wing, both of which are pretty darn terrible. Now, the other advantage, though, is the Waker of the Ancients with the Rolant's Honor Guards might actually just be the way to go. Although Elias the Broken Wing, would he really be worth it? Let's see. Elias the Broken Wing. No, because he's too much investment of justice. So Rolant's Honor Guard would be about the best one we could do. Would it be worth it? It would really increase the cost of the deck, but it would be a good target for Rise to the Challenge. But we would be taking out the Crimson Firemaw, which makes the Rises a little bit worse. So, but you're seeing why this deck is at best tier 3. At best tier 3. But that was Bargain Blowout, and thank you guys so much.